Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Ben Solak. This is the Play Sheet. Step aside NBA. NFL's got a trade deadline now. The NFL set a record for trade deadline activity on Tuesday. They had 10 total deals, including 12 total players on the day of, and 20 total players traded during the season, which is the highest number ever. There's a lot of reasons for the increase in activity. It's a weird year for parity, so a lot of close to contenders convinced themselves they were one piece away. The deadline is 2 weeks later than it was like 10, 15 years ago, so on and so forth. But there's another nerdier, but still very important reason. And that's comp picks. To understand how comp picks work and why they're important for the trade deadline, let's focus on the big trades, big names, big picks that went back and forth during the deadline. Only two, Kadarius Toney and Christian McCaffrey, are signed beyond the 2023 season. Claypool and Hawkinson both have their regular rookie contracts expiring in 2023. Calvin Ridley, who was suspended for the 2022 season, has the final season of his rookie deal left to be played out in 2023. Chubb, which was the biggest deal of all, first round pick the Dolphins sent for Bradley Chubb, has his contract expiring this season at the end of 2022. The same is true for Roquan Smith and for Robert Quinn. Figuring out who won and who lost these exchanges is always tough. And in the case of expiring contracts, it gets even trickier. Are 9 regular season games of Roquan Smith really worth a second round pick to the Ravens? Or is the trade only justified if they sign him to an extension? Do the Ravens lose the Roquan Smith trade if he leaves for free agency in just 6 months? This is where the comp pick magic comes into play. The Ravens are in a position where paying Roquan Smith to a market-setting linebacker deal, that's like north of $20 million per year, is going to be tough. Smith can't be the Ravens' first priority because the Ravens also have to sign Lamar Jackson, who remains unsigned, whose deal is going to be north of $47, $48, $49, $50 million a year. And if they need to use a franchise tag on somebody, they're going to use it on him. Let's pretend right now, worst case scenario plays out. Lamar's contract, enormous. Other teams put in huge offers to Roquan Smith during free agency, and he decides he wants to leave for a massive payday. The Ravens have now officially spent a second-round pick on a player who only gave them 9 regular season games. Disaster. But the moment Roquan leaves in free agency and signs a big deal somewhere else, they didn't actually spend a second on Roquan Smith. They spent a second on Roquan Smith and a future third. You see, when Roquan leaves in free agency at the expiration of his deal, the Ravens are now in line to receive a compensatory draft selection, more colloquially a comp pick. Comp picks are awarded by the league at the end of every round of the draft from round 3 to round 7, which if you've ever wondered like why are round 4 and 5 like 96 picks long, this is why. These comp picks can be awarded for a couple different reasons, but the majority of comp picks are awarded to teams who lost more players than they gained in free agency in the previous offseason. Those teams get compensation, extra draft picks, for the drain of talent leaving their roster. And the bigger contracts that their departing free agents sign elsewhere, the better comp picks they get for losing them. Let's look at Baltimore's 2021 offseason as an example. The Ravens thought they were contenders in the 2020 season and needed a little bit of help in pass rush, so they traded a 3rd round pick and a conditional 5th round pick for Minnesota edge rusher Yannick Ngakoue, whose contract was on its final year. Ngakoue and incumbent edge rusher Matt Judon paired pretty well, played pretty well, and both departed in free agency in the 2021 offseason. Judon and Ngakoue signed big enough deals with the Patriots and Raiders respectively that the Ravens were awarded 2 4th-round compensatory selections, one for each player. And those 4th-round comp picks became tight end Isaiah Likely and cornerback Demarion Williams, both of whom have played pretty significant roles for the Ravens this season. Essentially, the Ravens didn't send a 3rd and a 5th for Yannick Ngakoue. They sent a 3rd and a 5th for Yannick Ngakoue and a conditional 4th-round pick. That conditional 4th-round pick being if Ngakoue left in free agency. This is like the exact same thing the Rams did when they traded for Von Miller on an expiring deal, won a Super Bowl, and then let him sign a massive contract with the Buffalo Bills. They're going to get a 3rd-round comp pick in return. So we can apply the same framework to Roquan Smith. The Ravens didn't send a 2nd-round pick and a 5th-round pick for Smith. They sent a 2nd and a 5th for Smith and a conditional 3rd. These deadline trades now start to look a little bit different when you anticipate the effect of comp picks a year or 2 down the road. In order to get a comp pick, remember, you have to lose more than you gain. For teams like the Ravens, that's not that hard. They typically have a lot of good free agents depart and don't sign a lot of free agents because they're a really talented team that's generally up against the cap. In the case of the Bears with Chase Claypool, the Bears are probably going to spend money in free agency. That makes it harder to lose Chase Claypool if you choose not to extend him and be sure that you get a comp pick back. But as teams get better at manipulating the comp pick formula, you're going to see more and more trade deadline deals made for players on soon to expire contracts. The more picks a team can generate, the more active they can be as traders, not just in the NFL draft or during the offseason, but particularly on deadline day. And that makes the NFL trade deadline more enjoyable for all of us. A.J. Brown, 3 touchdowns against the Steelers. Time for play action. Scoring 3 touchdowns in an NFL game. Step 1, get so much trust from your quarterback that he throws it to you even when he's not supposed to. A.J. Brown, bottom of the screen. He's going to run the clear out route. This is meant to just pull the deep safety all the way down the field. It is not meant to be thrown. When Cooper Kupp had that long catch against the Buccaneers in the playoffs last year, and Sean McVay was like, we never throw that route. We call it the love of the game route. This is the love of the game route. You don't run it to catch the ball. You run it for the love of the game. More specifically, you run it so that Devontae Smith can run a deep dig behind it. And as the clear out route, the love of the game route, pulls Minkah Fitzpatrick downfield, we should open up a window, intermediate middle, throw the ball. That's exactly what happens, kind of. In the back, Jalen Hurts gonna snap the football, a little play action fake, and now we're gonna look. Here's Minkah opening up his hips. A.J. Brown working downfield. Minkah's hips are open to A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith is about to break. This ball should come from Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith right here. That is the correct read. A.J. Brown said after this game, he did not think he was going to get the ball. And watch Minkah and watch A.J. Brown. They're going to slow down because they don't think he threw it. This is going to Devontae. Nobody thinks Hurts is throwing this football to A.J. Brown. He has thrown the football to A.J. Brown. So A.J. and Minkah find the football. Minkah overruns the catch point slightly because he was in position to make the play. This should have been a pick. A.J. Brown just wins at the catch point. Minkah Fitzpatrick throws a hissy fit. That's step 1. Scoring 3 touchdowns in an NFL game. Step 2, take advantage of advantageous looks. Eagles, 3rd and 8. We're going to spread the field out, and we're going to see blitz look from the Steelers. We got 2 linebackers walked up into the A-gaps. So Jalen Hurts, smart quarterback, maturing quarterback, going to change the protection, right? So you see him step up to the line, get Dallas Goedert into the formation, switch the side for Kenny Gainwell, make sure I have enough bodies to block this up. So only 3 guys in the concept now. Vertical, Devontae Smith. Vertical, Quez Watkins. And top of the screen, vertical, A.J. Brown. Buddy, if we're picking our one-on-one matchups, we like A.J. Brown one-on-one against Ahkello Witherspoon. 2 things to watch on this throw. The first is the timing from Jalen Hurts in the pocket. We want to beat Minkah Fitzpatrick. We want this ball to get to A.J. on the outside before Minkah gets there. So watch the footwork. 3-step drop, back foot, ball's out. Excellent quarterbacking. Hurts throws a really good go ball. So now we know this ball is going to beat Minkah Fitzpatrick. How well is it going to be placed? Is Ahkello Witherspoon going to be able to play on it? Absolutely not. Outside shoulder placement, away from the corner. Minkah's too late to get there. Beautiful throw. That's touchdown number 2. Scoring 3 touchdowns in an NFL game. Step 3, be enormous and very fast and better than everybody else on the field. Eagles are in pretty much the exact same field position, right? Just inside of the 30. Jalen Hurts once again is going to check at the line. And the reason they're checking is because they're in what's called a nub formation. All the receivers are over here. And then there's one tight end who's just attached right to the line of scrimmage, right? Hand in the dirt for Dallas Goedert. Just a little nub at the end of the offensive line. And yet the Steelers have a corner over here. This is cornerback, right? So they're in some sort of zone look right now. This is a zone tell. Could be cover 2. Currently it looks like quarters because Ahkello Witherspoon is off. So Jalen Hurts says, okay, I think you guys are in zone. And when we get this sort of off coverage up here, the Eagles love to run these RPOs, right? They love to run little RPO, fake the run, and throw the bubble screen. So we're going to move Boston Scott to this side of the formation. And that doesn't seem important, but it is. Because now it reads like RPO for the Eagles. It reads like, okay, I'm going to put the ball in the belly of Boston Scott. Maybe I'll hand it off, but I'm going to have my eyes and my body facing this way. And then we're just going to run a little bubble over here. We're going to block, and we're going to block. And now we're going to have a numbers advantage, right? So once you put Boston Scott to this side, you're showing the Steelers, hey, I might put it in his belly, and I might run the RPO bubble. We do this all the time. You've seen this before, right? Let's run the play. All right, there's a little RPO fake. Here comes the bubble. Watch the eyes, watch the bodies of these 3 defenders. It's not a bubble, it's a trick. So you had Devin Bush push down, and that's fine because Bush is responsible for the running back. You had the slot corner here start to push down a little bit on the running back, and that puts him in a really bad spot because now the slot receiver is going to get past him. Minkah Fitzpatrick's now in a bind because Minkah's responsible for a vertical route coming from the slot receiver, and that means he doesn't have enough time to get to the vertical from A.J. Brown. So because the slot corner bites here a little bit on the running back fake, Devontae Smith gets past him. Now Minkah Fitzpatrick has to worry about all this stuff. Anything vertical from Devontae, anything in breaking from Devontae. Minkah's got to be responsible for this. So he's got his eyes on Jalen Hurts. He's got to watch out for this area of the field. And that means there's no help up top for A.J. Brown. So A.J. Brown bursts by Ahkello Witherspoon. Big catch with a contested catch point. Takes a hit from Minkah. And then bullies the people that he just beat for the 3rd touchdown of the game. But it's good design. It's a nice, clever play to get the Steelers think they're biting on something that they've usually seen before. And then it's just a very large man, just a very big, very talented receiver, just pointing at the people that he's terrorized all day. And that's how you score 3 touchdowns in an NFL game. Under pressure, a team that we have been trying to get in under pressure for quite some time that has somehow eluded us, but this week is your reckoning. The New York Football Jets. Let's start with the most important thing. Watching just 2 of Zach Wilson's 3 interceptions against the New England Patriots on Sunday. Oh, play action fake rollout. He's got time. Scanning the field. Now there's pressure. Just throws the ball away. It's picked. It's not great. 3rd and 7. Blitz is coming. Protected. Gets outside of the pocket. Pressure. Looking for somebody. Buys an extra second. Heaves it down the field. Yeah, intercepted as well. Okay. So after the game, Zach Wilson had this to say about his interceptions. Every time I get out of the pocket, it just gets frustrating to just throw the ball away. That's what I've done the last 4 weeks to put us in a good position to not turn the ball over and for us to win. Here's what I've done to help us win. And it's very frustrating, and I don't like doing it anymore. This is particularly funny because among quarterbacks who have taken like a significant number of dropbacks this year, Zach Wilson leads the league in throwaway percentage like by a mile. 9.4% of Zach Wilson's dropbacks, basically like 1 out of every 10, ends in a throwaway. And the next closest, like Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, you have Patrick Mahomes at 5. These are like good quarterbacks. It's okay to throw the football away. But Wilson has like built his quarterbacking style off of making great plays out of the pocket. The problem is he's not doing that this year. He's just throwing the football away. And that saves his offense from making bad plays until he gets so upset that he's still doing it that he just decides to huck the football down the field. The Jets have won some games with Zach Wilson as a starter despite some of his issues. This Patriots game was the first one they lost. Wilson was an evident reason for why they lost it. So head coach Robert Saleh was asked, hey, like, do you have a plan for Zach in terms of being the quarterback the rest of the season? Because they've played Joe Flacco at times and won games. They played Mike White at times last year and won games. Here's what Saleh had to say.
Is this something we're moving forward for the rest of this season, whether Zach is playing really, really well or whether Zach is playing really, really poorly? Zach is going to be the quarterback from the first snap until the last snap unless he were to get hurt?
Correct.
Why box yourself into saying that he's going to be your quarterback for the rest of the season? Exactly 1 year ago, right? He said this Monday, October 31st, after Mike White comeback win against the future AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. Could White be the man under center, even when Wilson is healthy enough to return to the field? We'll go day to day, but anything is possible, right? It goes back to the whole theory of the difference between player A and player Z is opportunity and reps. That's why they come out of nowhere. Somebody gets an opportunity, and what Mike does with his opportunity, he's got the world in front of him. He's got to take advantage of it. Why? After last season, saying, oh, who knows? The only difference between players is opportunity and reps. Everybody has a shot. That's how we run the Jets. Would you then have a good team, a clearly good team with good receivers and good defense and good running game, and everything is working, and the only thing that's not working is your quarterback, who is actively hurting the team by throwing terrible interceptions in a close game against a division rival? Why would you say, yeah, he's your starter for the rest of the season no matter what? I'm so excited to run this clip of me complaining about this in 6 weeks when the Jets invariably bench Zach Wilson for Joe Flacco or something. Thank you for watching this week's episode of The Play Sheet. Thank you to producer Dylan Berkey, who is one of 2 producers on the show. It's Dylan's last week with us here on The Play Sheet. He's moving on to bigger and better things because he's extremely talented, and we love Dylan. So you got to leave a like for Dylan, rate, review, and subscribe for Dylan. Watch more Ringer NFL videos for Dylan. Thank you, Dylan.